Browns fans were sweating out the question of whether or not they would be adding Jadeveon Clowney, the number 1 overall pick in the 2014 draft, played with the Texans, played with the Seahawks, played with the Titans. He's clearly in the 1 year at a time phase of his career. I feel badly for the guy. He never got the gigantic payday that his talents would have justified because of the rookie wage scale. That said, he gets a 1-year deal worth up to $10 million with the Browns. That means what he's actually getting is less than that, and he's going to have to do some things, do some stuff, and you never know what stuff he's got to do until you see the details. He may have to be the Super Bowl MVP to get the full $10 million. We don't know. Either way, what we do know is he is a member of the Browns. Charean, your first reaction when you saw that he's going to be across from and or to the left of, working from the inside of Aggie great Myles Garrett?
Well, I just remember last year, Mike, when Jadeveon Clowney signed with the Titans, we all thought it was such a big deal, how much it was going to help the Titans defense. And, of course, Jadeveon Clowney does what he has done many seasons in his career. He got hurt. He didn't have any sacks last season for the Titans. And guess what? They were last in the NFL in sacks, 19 total sacks last year. So while the hype train's going, while it looks like it's a really good signing, we'll have to see. How long can he stay on the field? How much damage can he cause? But I do think it's a great signing from the Browns from the standpoint of they have the money, they have the cap space, and they have Myles Garrett there to help Jadeveon Clowney. He was at his best when he had J.J. Watt. And I know J.J. Watt was hurt a couple of those years, but there was 1 year there when they were both really, really good. And I think you could have that again in Cleveland with those two guys rushing the passer. So they had all of that, Mike, and they're on the verge, I think, of doing something really big in Cleveland. So having him help them take that next step, I think it was a good signing. I'm not going to get all hyped about it and say they're going to the Super Bowl because they signed Jadeveon Clowney, but I do think it was a good signing.
The reality with Jadeveon Clowney is that when he is fully healthy, he is capable of being one of the most disruptive players in the National Football League on the defensive side of the ball, regardless of what his stats show. What he does, and this is a statistic that we are still trying to get the Elias Sports Bureau to officially recognize, the Chris Sims F up the play stat, where one guy, just by virtue of how he explodes or implodes the offensive line, destroys whatever it is that the offense is trying to do. And I thought one of his finest moments, Charean, was on a Monday night in the 2019 season when he was playing for the Seahawks against the 49ers. He was a one-man wrecking crew. The problem is, by the end of the game, he could feel a sports hernia coming on, and he was affected by it the rest of the game. So if he's healthy, he's awesome. The problem is he has had a chronic injury history, and that just is what it is. And some guys just get injured more than others. Some guys put so much into everything that they do. They play with such reckless abandon, they set themselves up to get injured. And we were on the text chain, the PFT writer text chain today, and I said, hey, it's almost like a comet. You see it briefly and brilliantly, and then it's gone for 2 or 3 years. And it's going to come around again at some point for the Browns this year. The problem is, how long is it going to last? It's not going to last 17 games. And they can just hope that Jadeveon Clowney is close to 100% when the games matter most in January, assuming the Browns get back.
I will add motivated to that when healthy. When healthy and when motivated, he can be one of the best players in the NFL. And he talks about Defensive Player of the Year. He's never even been All-Pro. He's been a Pro Bowler 3 times. He's never had double-digit sacks. And a lot of that is because of the injuries. When he's motivated and he's healthy, we saw it in that 49ers game. You talked about that. He had a sack, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, resulted in a touchdown. He was dominant in that game. And we saw it earlier that season with the Seahawks against Arizona. He also scored a touchdown in that game, had 2 sacks. You saw it in flashes with the Texans. There was one game against the Colts when he just destroyed the Colts when he was playing for the Texans. So you've seen it in flashes. You've seen it in spurts. You know what he can do. We just want to see more of it, Mike. We want to see it for a full season. We want to see it for 8 games or 10 games or 12 games. Even if it's not 17 games this season, we need to see it more than what we've seen it from Jadeveon Clowney in his career.
Manage the reps in games, manage the practice time, be smart with Jadeveon Clowney, keep him healthy, and you're right, keep him motivated as often as possible. We talked about what motivated him to choose the Cleveland Browns. Last year they wanted him. He opted not to play for the Browns. This year he did. Here he is from earlier today talking to reporters about why he landed in Cleveland.
Jadeveon, can you just talk a little bit about why were you so excited to come to the Browns this year when I know they pursued you very hard last year, and I heard that their offer was higher than anyone else's. So why this year? Why not last year?
Circumstances changed, and I got a new agent, and he was more open about coming here and wanted me to take a visit. My last one, I didn't take no visit, but this one made me visit, and I came and visited. I got to sit down with the staff and got to know some of the guys, and it made it much more easier for me to come here and play.
Again, I firmly believe Jadeveon Clowney is in that 1 year at a time phase of his career, and even if he has a big year somewhere, I know that a team may be tempted to do a multi-year contract. It just has never shown to be something that is sustainable, but it's that lure of what he can be. It's that hope of what the Browns could be, and if he is healthy, he will make the Browns better. We just don't know that that'll happen. I talked earlier about putting Jadeveon Clowney on the same defensive line with Myles Garrett. Clowney addressed that as well earlier today. Charean, here he is. Here he is.
A lot has been made about you pairing up, obviously, with Myles Garrett and that your arrival will help him. How much will playing with him help you?
A lot. I've been getting double teamed off a lot in this league over my career, and I'm looking forward to playing with somebody dominant on the opposite side, like a Myles Garrett who can draw a double team. Maybe I can go one-on-one more.
And that really is the key. You know, a dominant defensive player gets double teamed, sometimes triple teamed. There's only so much attention you can give to Jadeveon Clowney if you're worried about Myles Garrett, Charean. And I think that is all the reason for Clowney to be attracted to Cleveland. Go to a team where there already is that dominant defensive player, so you get more favorable matchups, more opportunities to create havoc, more opportunities to get more sacks, something he hasn't had nearly as many of as the talent would suggest.
Yeah, you look at what Olivier Vernon did last year, and he's a free agent. He had 14 starts for the Browns last year opposite Myles Garrett, and he had 9 sacks. He had a great year. And so if Jadeveon Clowney can play 12, 14 games for the Browns, he can get back in that 9 and maybe even have 10 sacks, his first double-digit sack season with Myles Garrett opposite him. Obviously, teams put a lot of their focus on stopping Myles Garrett, right? He was having a Defensive Player of the Year kind of year 2 years ago when he had the suspension, and then last year he comes back and has 12 sacks in 14 games. So he's been dominant. And they also signed Takk McKinley, who I think if they can get his career going again, he can be a rotational player and come in and spell those two guys. They could have a pretty darn good pass rush in Cleveland, Mike.
Takk McKinley was a first-round pick of the Falcons back in 2017. Adding Clowney gives the Browns 10 first-round picks, 3 number 1 overall picks, and 1 Super Bowl MVP. Do you know who the Super Bowl MVP is who's on the Browns, Charean?
I do. Malcolm Smith.
That's right. He was a 7th-round pick 10 years ago by the Seattle Seahawks. Right place, right time as part of a dominant Seahawks performance where they had to make someone the MVP. I don't know. Did you vote on that one? I think he just could have thrown a dart at 5 different guys for the MVP of that game.
Yeah, I think I did vote for Malcolm Smith in that one. I keep most of those things. I just like having them and going back and seeing who I voted for. I'm pretty sure I did vote for Malcolm Smith in that one.
I keep all mine, too. Never had one, so I never lose them.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.